You're good to go.
Okay, all right, I'll call the meeting to order, Governmental Operations and Advocacy Committee meeting. It is now 2:08 PM on January 24th. And I would like to consider a motion to get it on the floor, the approval of the minutes of the prior committee meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Driscoll. Any discussion on the proposed minutes? Hearing none, seeing none. Those who wish to approve, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
nay? No nays. Minutes are accepted. Next, discussion items. We have Mike Colvin here. So Mike, would you discuss the carryover of Technology Innovation and Election Resources Grant? And I believe the other one's the cybersecurity grant. So is that what you're going to do?
I had appropriations for the computer reserve fund
Oh, okay, go ahead.
for $70,000 for planned replacements for various computers and switches and IT, county clerks, and the sheriff's office.
Right. So that grant is approved. So what are you asking this committee to do?
Oh, it's not a grant, it's the computer reserve fund, so the money's put there to kind of stack up till we get to the years we need it, so it's an even number every year for budgeting. And
All
then when
right.
I get to my expensive year, it's already there instead of asking for a lot of money all at once.
Okay, it does say grant in the discussion, but is there, what do you want from us, Mike, on that item?
We need a resolution to appropriate the money from the reserve
Oh,
fund
okay.
to the various department codes.
Right.
Oh, that's, it wasn't, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you're looking at Board of Elections.
Okay,
You want IT.
all right. So 70,000 from the computer reserve funds for information technology, 40,000. All right, any questions for Mike Colvin on that matter? Yes, sir, Supervisor.
Bring it forward for discussion.
All right. Supervisor Cotto makes a motion to bring it forward, seconded by Supervisor Driscoll. Discussion? All right. Seeing and hearing no discussion, is this a vote? All right. Motion and second made. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes.
Supervisor Stroh, I hate to interrupt, but could somebody there email out the agendas? I'm getting a file path not found on the website.
All right, so Amanda will work on that, I believe.
Thank you.
And the next item, Mike,
Nope, that's,
any others?
nope,
That's
that's
it?
all I had for today, unless anybody's got any questions for me.
Okay. Any questions for Michael? Anybody present or Zoom? Okay, thank you, Michael.
Right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Supervisor Hogan.
nope, this is actually Supervisor Sieber.
All right, Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for Mike Colvin, I wanted to just take a moment and make sure that we recognize his efforts with the Board of Ethics. He had to set up county email addresses for every single person that does anything with the county. And it turned out to be a long list of people that didn't have emails or had emails that checked them on a regular basis. And I know he's been working really hard on making sure that we meet those compliance efforts with the ethics law. And he's done a phenomenal job in so many areas that I think just don't get that type of recognition publicly during your committee meeting. But thank you, Mike, that between putting the training together with Tammy, getting it out there, monitoring it, making sure all of us are not having phishing emails that we're constantly clicking on, and then getting us all email addresses, your hands have been full, along with every other thing that you do. So thank you for doing such a great job.
Thank you, appreciate it. And for the ethics, out of 878 people, we're down to 149.
Oh, good.
We're getting there.
All right. Okay, thank you. All right, next, it will go to the board elections part, and there's two discussion items. Who would like to speak to this? Bill?
Good afternoon, Chairman. I'll start out and Beth will jump on when I get done, but if you want, we could probably move the two grants together if you want in the same motion. I know the money is already here. The carryover of the Technology Innovation and Election Resources Grant was accepted in Resolution 319 of 2021 for a total of $70,805.74. The carryover of an extension, and we apologize, this was a late entry, but we just got the extension for this grant last week. And that's the cybersecurity grant for $79,297.03. It's been extended until 12/31 of 2023. It was supposed to expire on 12/31 of 2021. We're just asking for those two grants to be carried over and in our budget.
All right, so don't need a motion then and a resolution approving. Yes, Supervisor Conover, you're making the motion for both A and B, just to make it clear. All right, and Supervisor Frazier is seconding the motion to approve the carryover as
Right.
described by Board of Elections Supervisor Billy Van Ness. And any further discussion on extending the carryovers? Yes, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm just a little confused. Are we changing the termination date that's reflected on the old resolutions? Or are we amending the budget or both?
We actually, it's the carryover on the cybersecurity grant, Ryan, was supposed to expire December 31st of 2021. We just received a notice last week from the state that they have extended that grant until 2023. I will say the majority of that grant is spent. There's about $1,100 left in that grant to expend. So I guess that's my question to you. This is the first time for Beth and I to be carrying grants over. Do we have to send an amendment of our budget over to you to carry these grants over? We're not sure how that works.
That depends on if you have the appropriation in your budget now. Maybe you have it in a rolled PO. Maybe you don't. That's
It's actually in our budget, and they created accounts for both these grants.
okay. Is if you have the appropriations that you need in the 2022 budget already, then you don't need to amend the budget.
Beth, you've looked at
To roll it over, we would have to amend the budget.
If you don't have the appropriation, then you amend the expenses and the revenues for what you need.
Okay. We'll
Supervisor,
talk to Rob about that. We ran into it at the end of this year. We didn't carry over the early voting grant and we had to backpedal a little. So we didn't want to run into that same scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, but Ryan, but I think the concern here is maybe from the treasurer's office that if it's not reappropriated and it doesn't roll over, then that revenue falls to the fund balance, and then we got to come back and we got to appropriate it out of fund balance. Perhaps, I don't know what the original resolution originally said or how it was handled administratively, but correct me if I'm wrong, Bill. That I think that's the concern, is it not?
correct. We just want to make sure that this money is there to be expended. Obviously, it's a grant that it can only be expended for certain items. So we just want to make sure that the money is rolled over. We weren't aware of it actually till we got a call from Rob, and Rob said to us that we had to roll these over.
Okay, so maybe what we do is ask for the termination dates to be amended as reflected on the agenda, as well as to the extent that you need any budget amendment. Well, we can determine that with the treasurer and advance it to finance. That sound good?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So as amended, Supervisor Conover and Supervisor Frazier, they agreed to the amending as to what Administrator Moore just described. Any further discussion on this topic? Seeing none, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries. Next, we have a item for the Board of Rules of the Board, a small,
Uh,
We
Chairman
we
Stroud,
got an update.
I'm sorry.
oh yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead with the update.
That's fine.
Sorry. We just wanted to talk a little bit what we're looking at for the election cycle 2022. And with some of the grant monies, we decided to go on demand ballot printing for election day, which will work the same way. If anybody has early voted, you sign on the poll pad and then the ballot automatically prints out for you for the right election district and such. We thought it'd be a good year to do it, being it's a governor's year. Usually we consolidate into towns and wards and we have 19 ballot styles. So being a governor's year this year, we have to do it by ED. So that'd be 42 ballot styles. So that will limit a lot of spending on ordering pre-printed ballots. And then the also great thing with primaries, it helps inspectors give out the proper ballot when there's multiple primaries. In the past, we've had inspectors hand out, the wrong ballots. So that will solve that problem. And then just for synopsis of 21, we usually order, well, we're supposed to order 110% ballots. We had 46,025 eligible voters for GE 21. So we typically go look back in our history. So we typically order 75% ballots, depending on what the election is and such, because voters are able to get up to 3 ballots. If they spoil a ballot and they turn that in, they're able to get a replacement ballot. So that's where that 110% election law kind of resides there. But we do limit it because typically that many voters don't come out to vote. For GE 21, we ordered 31,750 ballots at 48 cents each. That's $15,240. If we had on-demand ballots, and we also had 344 spoiled ballots for 21. So if we did on-demand, it would be 21 cents per ballot. It's 10 cents for paper and then 11 cents for ink. So that would total with the spoil ballots, 3,359 ballots, or $3,359. So that's a savings over $11,000. So we're excited to have that presented this year, starting in the primary. A little nervous being it's new, but we feel it's great. We talked to Orange County. They've done it for 2 years and they are in love with it. So we decided to move forward with it this year. Then a couple other things. I know Ryan Moore, Administrator Moore on Friday mentioned in the budget that registration days are going to be moved from 20 days before the election to 10 days before the election. And that happens to be the same day that we'll start counting absentees. That's also new this year. We'll have to count absentees the day before early voting, and then the last day of early voting that we received within that week. So that puts a strain on the staff in our office. We will be utilizing our money and our per diem staff this year. And then also with early voting, we have to go from 5 hours on Saturday and Sunday to 8 hours. And then we'll have a third late night to 8 o'clock. So that's also more hours for us and then our inspectors as well.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think I let Beth give you all the bad news. So having said that, I'll give you a little good news. We did help out our county to the north in Hamilton due to this new law change in the absentee counting. They were short 2 machines. Luckily for Warren County, as you all know, we went into an ice contract for the ice machine. Last year, we had old machines that we had received permission to give away or donate to other counties. We do have two BMD machines that we will be donating to Hamilton County. So with that, I think we're finished.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Questions for Commissioners McLaughlin or Vanessa? Yes, Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, I assume the counting is apart from the tabulation. The tabulation of the early voting doesn't happen until a certain point in time after the polls are closed. In other-
Correct. You won't get results for anything until 9 o'clock on election night. That will combine absentees, early voting, and election day.
Right. So
Our
those,
machine, I'm sorry, Supervisor Conover, our machines are programmed not to print out results until election day when we transfer the cards over. Then we will get results. Other than that, we will not have results produced until election day.
sure. I know the question had an obvious answer, but I thought it needed to be asked.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And any other questions for the commissioners? Seeing none here, seeing none online. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners McLaughlin and Vanessa.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, now let's get over to Ryan. A little rules of the board, a small mistake that was oversight, but not a significant one, at least not in my eyes. But Ryan, if you, Administrator Moore, if you'll share that.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. This came up this morning in discussion at the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee meeting. The sheriff came forward with 4 contingent permanent positions in the for correction officers. And one of the committee members asked about whether the number in the rules of the board had to change. The rules of the board states the Warren County Sheriff is authorized to fill positions that become vacant in the uniform correctional staff to maintain mandated staffing levels at the county correctional facility, providing those staffing levels do not exceed the following. And the number that's next to correction officers is 75. So there were 75 correction officers plus 1 inspector up until the end of 2019. And then by resolution 593 of 2019, the Board of Supervisors deleted the corrections inspector and added an additional correction officer. When we did the rules of the board for 2020, that was inadvertently left out of the rules of the board. So the 75 should have changed to 76 then. It was just something that for whatever reason we missed, and that's a technical correction that we'd be asking for now.
So do you need a approval from this board to move it to the Board of Supervisors meeting? Next month?
We wouldn't be comfortable doing that as a clerk's correction.
All right, so in brief, it is the rules of the board where it talks about the Warren County Sheriff's Office, right, to fill positions. And the one that we approved said 75. Administrator Moore said it should have said 76. Motion made by Supervisor Conover, seconded by Supervisor McDevitt. Any questions, further questions, thoughts? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. The only other item I have are some changes being requested by Counter Clerk Pam Vogel in the DMV, kind of a restructuring. Oh, hey, hi, Pam, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Oh, I didn't see that. None of that came to me.
Yes, good afternoon.
Thank you.
I welcome you to this new year for the County Clerk DMV Committee. Today's business and point is regarding restructuring in the DMV that's relative to a retirement that has come up during this month. Briefly, I have provided information to you in the agenda sent on Friday. And I trust that that will be satisfactory to your understanding of the changes we make. Very briefly, we're requesting, in light of this retirement, the retirement is the principal account clerk. This person has been with Warren County for 32 years. She has been behind actually the finances of many departments, starting with public health and Joan Grishkot many years ago, the DSS, Westmount, and of course with the DMV for the last, and county clerk for the last 6 years. Exemplary employee, and she will be missed. However, in this particular position, the duties are directly involved with ongoing DMV matters, not only financial, but inventory of every document that is that comes and goes out of DMV each and every day. In looking at this position and in hopes of finding a more streamlined approach, we are proposing that we will delete the principal account clerk, which is a grade 10, and add a third senior motor vehicle examiner. We currently have 2, plus the PAC. And this would replace that. The duties of the senior motor vehicle all have to do with supervisory, complex transactions, finance, and accountability. So this does fit in very well. In terms of the change, if we were to go to a PAC, we would actually have to take a senior motor vehicle off the floor for anywhere from 4 to 6 months to begin to prepare somebody from the outside. And that person would be a senior motor vehicle. So it makes sense in this day and age and the transformation that's going to go on in DMV in the coming next few years, that we create this third senior motor vehicle and address all the requirements that we do have from obviously New York State DMV, as well as the county clerk's office. Very briefly, we are also about a $22 million operation downstairs. So I thank you for that consideration of it. Questions?
Would you like me to bring that to the floor?
Yes, Supervisor Conover will bring the approvals, and I believe we're talking about a new position, principal account clerk. Delete the principal account of the, no, the new position will be a senior MV examiner.
Yeah.
And then delete the principal account clerk, increase the examiners from 2 to 3, and then fill a new position that is vacated because of retirement.
Yes, that final one down is when we move an MVR, motor vehicle clerk, forward, filling the move from the motor vehicle to senior motor vehicle.
All right, so motion has been brought to the floor by Supervisor Conover. A second to that motion, Supervisor Frazier. Additional discussion? Yes, Supervisor Conover.
Yeah. I think, Brian, that the creation of the third position, motor vehicle position, by resolution, I think now has to go to the board because that would be a new position, but the position that's being vacated, I'm not sure that the refilling of it needs to go. I believe that's correct. So I just would like to make sure that my motion reflects that. You can handle them separately or together. That may not leave that up to staff on how they prefer to handle that, but put that out there. So the motion can stand. I just want to clear for the record that it's the one position that's going to the board for approval now.
Yeah.
not the bill.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe we're moving off all 3 of those together. I believe if that's correct, you're moving all those together, Supervisor Conover and Supervisor Frazier.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other questions or thoughts? Seeing none, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion as brought forward, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, motion carries. The other thing I see on the agenda, whoops, I'm sorry, Supervisor
Follow
Connell.
on if I might.
Yes,
I think for our staff going forward that because the comment was made at least for the next, I think it was 2 or 3 years or something like that relative to the senior account talk, I think that this was a good decision. There may be situations where Ryan, going forward, that we might want to maintain a position as part of the organizational structure, but unfund it and move resources over to another position. And in those situations, I think that there should be an evaluation on which path is the best path to go and why. I think that is general.
okay, thank you. Is there anything else, County Clerk, you would like to talk to? Annual report, over.
Yeah, no,
That's
I
what you do.
appreciate your time today. I think in our next meeting or two coming forward, as we go through this quarter, we'll be looking at the county clerk's 2021 annual report. We'll be looking at mortgage tax revenue, what we did in 21, and of course, in preparation in 23 for the next local law on that. And then potentially looking at some of the organizational structure, restructuring that we talked about actually in November. So I thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any,
Appreciate it. Have a
any
great day.
questions for County Clerk? All right, hearing none, seeing none. Thank you very much. I see Amy Klug. We have a resolution requested to amend the contract with SG Risk Actuarial Services for the Workers' Compensation Plan to allow for an annual update for the years between the biannual reports for a fee not to exceed $2,000 annually. Would you like to go on and add to that at all, Amy?
Sure. Thank you, Chairman. This was a contract we did as a result of an RFP back in 2016. We're required by the Treasurer's Office for the county's audit to have an annual actuarial review of the workers' comp plan. It started out as an every other year, and then the treasurer wanted it to be every year. So we amended that contract in 2017. In 2020, we accepted the extension and we extended the amended contract. And that covered last year. I got to this year to do the biannual review and we couldn't get a purchase order because we have to actually have a resolution to amend the amended to include the 2 years in between. So it's more of a housekeeping thing. The funding comes from the self-insurance plan. So I'm just looking to, clean this up and get it so we can have that actuarial review and get it paid for.
All right, so what you need is approval from us to basically accept the amended as you just described and include the 2 years in between.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to get that on the floor for discussion? Supervisor Frazier? Supervisor Conover? Seconded? Discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'll take a vote, signify your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, motion passes. All right, thank you, Amy. Anything else, Amy?
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Anything else, Amanda? All right, that's it. I know we're running late today. Anything?
Oh, you have Beaver, Hogan,
All right. Supervisor Seaver?
Thank you. I'm sorry. I thought we had privilege of the floor, but before Amy goes, it was just about a comment as it related to privilege of the floor with Amy. In the Needham report that came out when it looked at all of our different vulnerabilities, one of the recommendations was to talk about sergeant at arms, which was deleted, I believe, in the standing rules, I want to say 10, 11 years ago. But there has been a continual request when we have these updates through Needham for us to take a look at it again. I wondered, could we please list that as a pending item so Amy could be prepared and we could discuss that next month?
Okay, that will be one of the discussion items. I'm sure there'll be many. Can you put Sergeant of Arms down as a discussion item for next month?
Thank you.
Anything else, Supervisor Seaver? Okay.
Not for me. Thank you.
Supervisor Hogan?
Thank you, Supervisor Strow. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak in this committee that I'm not seated on. I have a proposal for this committee that I think that you especially should be very, very enthusiastic about. I'd like to suggest that this committee ratify Resolution 81 of 2021. If you will recall, that was the resolution that you yourself drafted that was committing the Board of Supervisors to bridging divisions and working together. If you'll remember last year when we were discussing this, I had some concerns that the resolution, while it was lovely in sentiment, did not go far enough because it did not include any action items. And I'd like to propose an action item or two here for you. The final or the second to last resolved paragraph says, resolved that the Warren County Board of Supervisors is committed to a governing and work environment which reflects and actively promotes its core values of inclusiveness, honest and respectful dialogue, integrity in all its interactions, and reliance on facts and data to drive decisions. The board values and celebrates the diversity of citizens across the region and is committed to social justice, mutual respect, civility, and elimination of discrimination. I'd like to propose that we add in there a couple of action items, such as every member of the board will commit to taking the diversity, equity, and inclusiveness training that's available to us. But we can also add a couple other things if you guys would like to discuss it. Things like having our human resources review all of our job postings for implicit bias, for taking training on microaggressions. There's a whole list.
Yeah, no, all right. So would you like to submit your thoughts to Amanda and we'll look at them next month? Okay,
That's great. Thank you.
all right, thank you. Anything else? Supervisor Hogan? All right, Supervisor Bramer?
Thank you, Supervisor Strow. On the advocacy side, there's one item that is of particular interest to me that I wanted to bring up to the committee to see if you would consider bringing this on as an agenda item, and it relates to the state's climate action scoping plan. This is available for public comment, and I know it is lengthy. I myself have not been able to make it the whole way through, but I was hoping that we could bring something forward from the committee, from the advocacy committee to, either support that, or if there's anything in there that we have concerns about related to local government operations, maybe we put something forward out of that. I haven't seen anything yet from NISAC talking about this and the impacts on counties, but I think it's something that we should try to focus and give a little attention to in the next month or so. We have until I think the end of March to submit comments.
So, yeah, if you'll submit something, once you get that finalized, Supervisor Bramer will look at it for consideration.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? Anything else from members present? Yes, Supervisor
Some of these
Conover?
items like the one just mentioned, if we could shoot something like that off the NISAC immediately. And laboring us, if there's something that's coming out of NISAC or something that's being considered legislatively or whatever it might be, then we'll be early advised as to whatever the particular issue is, whether it's this one or any other. So I would say that as soon as we receive that email, at least ask the question of our whether it be NISAC or AATV or whatever, is a resource for us. So what's going on, what's being.
All right, well, let's take a look and get from Supervisor Bramer a clarification of what she would like us to consider, and then we'll go from there. Yes, Supervisor,
To adjourn,
yes.
or do you need to touch base with Don?
Don, anything from the public?
Hello, Chairman Stroud. No, there's nothing on YouTube.
All right. Anything here for good of the order? Seeing nothing, hearing nothing, motion to adjourn made by Supervisor Conover, second by Supervisor McDivitt. All right, we're